All right, so this is the Sushi Susan, and the Sushi Susan, what I did here was just by mounting some lock line pieces, and this is just a, slide this up here, just a circular disc, and so it's really easy to make a lazy Susan just using corrugated plastic, and the stoppers I used was dual lock. Well, then I came up with another way. Oh, and it's a Frisbee, by the way. So I just wanted to show you how I have a Sushi Susan here, too, because people can just use their lip to advance to the next fork, and these forks slide in and out. So pretty simple. But I want to show you how this whole thing rotates and spins around. What we have is, this is just PVC pipe. Then over here, this is one of those quick grip clamps, but I've wrapped thin wire. And by wrapping thin wire around it, it allows this whole thing to circulate and spin. So that's a cool way of making, Lazy Susan using one of these quick grip clamps. Now what's nice about this pipe is, depending upon how you're sitting, you can cut this pipe and lower it or raise it so that it is at the height of the person's mouth. The other cool thing about this is that it can lay flat, and I can also pop this off, and so this whole thing becomes portable with the quick grip clamp, and then I can slide out all these forks. So very, very simple, making a Sushi Susan out of corrugated plastic, a Frisbee, and then you can see where I've used double-sided tape to create a tracks for the forks to be able to slide in and out. So very, very simple. And then I peel back the double-sided tape to cover it up, the top part of it. All right, so let me show you how easy it is to make this hands-free sandwich holder. And you can take bites out of it and it can slide back and forth. But pretty simple. You've seen the spring clip. I made one of these spring clips. So what this is just a piece of PVC pipe. We have a winged elbow. We have another elbow, short piece of pipe in there. And here we have Remo 2. So I'm putting the Remo 2 on, putting it onto the short piece, putting this piece on the long piece. And then if we zoom in on here, you can see this is one of those spring quick grip clamps that slide on and off. I can tighten that, and then I've wrapped this with wire because I use it for a Lazy Susan kind of concept. But in this case, I don't want it to spin around when I have my sandwich holder on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rubber band, wrap this around like this, and there. Now I can hold that so that it's not rotating around. So that's the rubber band, gives me some friction. I can put the sandwich holder on top and stick my sandwich in there, and then voila, take a bite out of it, pull it towards, so it's pretty simple for eating a sandwich. All right, I'm just going to show how I secure this from rotating and spinning around. So I take my rubber band, I pull it over, I tuck one in. Now it's kind of like a figure 8, and then I wrap one here and one here. And so you can see this X in the middle, and that's what holds it and keeps it from rotating around. All right, so what we're doing here is we're going to build up this handle, and this is a little Desi spoon, and these little spoons are also metal, and sometimes we give tiny spoons to children that when they're scooping in so that they don't scoop too much on there. And for people that have a real hard time like grabbing hold of these, we're just going to take some PVC pipe and we're going to take our Instamorph, and we're just going to use this to build up the handle of the spoon. So what I have in here is I've poured my beads, and they're now clear. And so what I'm going to do with these beads is I'm going to push it down on the table. I'm going to take my palm, fold it over, squeeze it. There we go. We want it to be really all one clear color here. Great. So now I'm kind of stretching this out a little bit because I have to feed it into the PVC pipe. And I'm probably not going to necessarily need all of this Instamorph, because then what I have to do is jam my spoon in there. I'm going to pull out some of this. Don't need it all, so we'll try again. Stretch that out a little bit more. Drop it down in there. There we go. And then I'll push my spoon down in there. There we go. There, that looks about right. And I'm going to put my remaining in here to kind of plug that. Keep squeezing it down in there. And this is going to turn back white again. And again, this is much better to do with a metal spoon. And there we have it, a built-up handle. And I just put one of these end caps on the end. So there, I've got the spoon, I've got the handle built up. So there you are, building up. Very simple, fast, easy way to build up a handle for a child's spoon. All right, so we're gonna make a cup holder, and we're going to make it using this Velcro brand one wrap, which is hook on one side and loop on the other. And the first thing we have to do is we have to take these pieces, and we've got to cut those in half like that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with our horizontal piece, lay that down, and then put our vertical piece. There we go. Now we're going to lay our cup in the middle, and we're going to wrap this like so around there. It doesn't have to come perfectly up there. Then we're going to flip it upside down, and we're going to fold back this way. And now we can slide our hand in here, right? So somebody with grasping. So now if you've got arthritis or you can't hold onto a cup, now you can be able to drink with the cup, or you can also use this for pouring. This can slide out. Now if you had a beverage container that was, so these bottles, if I put this bottle in, notice how this bottle would like really slide through. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a piece of this lock lip rug gripper tape, peel that off. I'm gonna lay that in the middle there. Now I'm going to lay my bottle in there and wrap it around like that. And then that grips a hold of the bottle to make it easier for drinking. So it just offers some friction on that. And I think I'm going to make this a little bit tighter too, because this bottle is heavier. So there, easy way for gripping, holding, and drinking with the bottle. All right, so our universal cuff kits, what we do is we cut off 2 pieces of one wrap, about 1 inch off the end, and then we stick them on both ends at about 50% over the top of our double-faced loop. Next, we take a D-ring and we fold this over, and that's how we secure our ring there. The next thing we do is we create a pocket, and we create a pocket on the end that has the D-ring. And notice I've got this laid all the way down here, and I've got this folded over. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide with the hook side facing up, slide that up. And then I'm going to come all the way across the back. This needs to be above the knuckles, come all the way across the back, and we close off the pocket. Now, with this pocket, we can separate the one wrap a little bit, and now the spoon slides into our pocket, and so for feeding. So it's a nice feeding solution. But the problem is not everybody can feed themselves this way. So maybe they don't have good, movement with their wrist. So if somebody has low tone, you know, and if the spoon's going into their chest or doesn't come necessarily into their mouth, we have another option. And that is, so we're going to take this apart and take the spoon out. And we're going to open this up, our pocket. And we're going to take one of these industrial twist ties. I'm going to fold it in half. And then I bend these two over like this, just like a claw. And we put our spoon in there, put that upside down, and I push right, left, and notice I've got a space in between here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put that in my hand like this, and I'm gonna grab these two button things here, and I'm hanging on to it so I can rotate this piece all the way over. There. So now what I can do is I can go ahead and stick this into my pocket. I'm just going to pull this up a second. I'm going to put that in the middle again. Put my spoon like that. I'm going to wrap that over nice and tight. Then I'm going to flip this upside down like this. I'm going to slide this piece through my D-ring. All right, I'm going to come across here and close my pocket off again. Now, what if my hand, again, low tone, right? What's really great about this industrial twist tie is I can bend it and position wherever it needs to be positioned so that when they bring their hand up, that the spoon can come up into their mouth. So being able, and I can also raise a plate up to be able to scoop it into the mouth, scoop it into the mouth. So that's what's kind of cool about having that universal twist tie. Now, what if I did not want to do something with a spoon? I'm going to loosen this up, I'm going to slide this out, and now I'm going to put a marker in there. So again, I've got my marker in, like that. I've got this bent over. All right. So now I don't do this with a marker. The marker I want to be able to draw on my paper. So therefore, once the marker is in there, I have to hold on here. So I'm going to rotate this all the way around like this, right? So now I've got it in this position, and I can slide it further down. So that's by twisting it. So after you get it in, you twist it so that then you can draw or paint. And speaking of painting, what if this was a paintbrush? If this was a paintbrush, I would want it positioned out here. This is the brush end, so if I'm coming up and down, or I'm doing this way, the brush is coming in contact and doing the painting with the paper. So you can do all sorts of really cool things with this universal cuff. Now there's one more thing I want to show you, and that is, notice how that was kind of sliding around my hand. It wasn't necessarily tight. And so what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to thread this through. Right? I'm going all the way, see this hole here? I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to thread this through this hole. All right? And now what I'm going to do is I can put my hand in here, thread this all the way down. Now I've got it nice and tight. But what I'm going to do here is I've got all this excess, so to close off my pocket. So I'm just going to cut it off right here. And now I've got this secured bottom here, and I can slide my hand back in there. So now this is a little bit tighter of a fit. It's not sliding off my hand at all because I went through the loop here, that little hole there. So that's another thing to think about. It's a drawing. So you can be really creative in how you want to create your different holding and grasping solutions. So that's the ins and outs of the universal cuff. All right, so drinking. So we're going to talk about all different options that we have here for drinking. So if we have a particular stand, it can be a variety of stands, but here's with a quick grip clamp. And you notice these containers are tapered, and because they're tapered, I can just drop it right in, and you can see where it hits this wide spot. So that will hold the beverage, and so that's mounted so somebody can roll up by their wheelchair and to be able to get that particular beverage. But what if we have a beverage like this? So if we have a beverage like this, the challenge is because it's not tapered. So if I put something in there, it would slide all the way through. So what we're going to do is we've made this little attachment, and this attachment is corner guard, right? It's wide corner guard from the wallpaper department. It's attached with the VHB tape, and this is Sintra board, and this is one of a 1/2-inch fixed mount. And so we're going to create this little ledge for our bottle to kind of rest onto, and I'm going to attach it right to the end here. So to do that, I'm going to pop this part off, and I will pop that part on. All right, now what we'll do is we will take our Velcro here, and we're going to wrap it around. This time we're going to have the hook side facing outward, and that's going to attach. We've got some hook Velcro on the end here. We're going to come all the way around, do the same thing over here. And now we have a way to hold these types of bottles. But now that you have the bottle that way, it's still how do you drink the beverage? So it's kind of hard to drink it out of this angle, but what we can do is we can tilt it, right? We can tilt it at a 30-degree angle. And some of the water bottles that have a tip, it makes it much easier to be able to drink with that, it just pops out, and so somebody can roll up, and at this angle it's much easier. But here's another option. Another option is one of these straws, which is a one-way straw. It's got a little check valve in here. Maybe it's kind of hard, but there's this tiny little BB. If you can see that little BB. So what happens is there's a little hole in the end, and so when we put this into the water, and this is for people that have a hard time with suctioning up, so I wouldn't necessarily have to have that water bottle at that angle. So I'm going to change the angle, and I'm going to put this in, I'm going to prime it, and you'll see that the water, it'll reach to the top and it won't go all the way back down because of this check valve in the bottom of this one-way straw. Change that, unscrew this, and then we can put the straw in there. Now, do you see how the straw is like flopping around? So how we do that is we just take a piece of painter's tape and we do a figure 8, and it gets attached and secured so it doesn't keep flopping around. But just to see how a check valve works, see how it's now filled up? So now, once somebody's mouth is right there, very little pressure is required to get the fluid out. And so this can be bent, and we can position the straw wherever it needs to be positioned. So just another interesting way for the water bottle challenge.